Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wiltshire College, Salisbury, Games Development and Games Animation. Tonight, we're just looking at 3ds Max, Autodesk 3ds Max, and I'll give you some details in a minute. I'm just scrolling through at the moment the ArtStation account, which I've set up, where you can post all of your lovely models and lovely scenes that you've made using this software and other softwares that we use as part of games development and games animation. They're all cutting edge industry standard tools, and all of those tools you'll pick up over the first and second year of both of those courses. We also use other tools which you're probably familiar with, like Photoshop, and some of these works here were made totally using Photoshop or the iPad version of Sketchbook, Autodesk Sketchbook. So just clicking on a few of those just to give you a little taster. So you can see we're already looking at environments and character designs using these different softwares. And lots of art skills as well. So rule of thirds, Dutch angles, focal points, lots of different tools and techniques. We work to a pre-production, production and post-production kind of workflow as a kind of a overview of the whole thing. And we apply that to each of our projects that we do. Okay. Nice bit of Skyrim there. Quite relaxing music to work by. I've put together tonight a 15-minute presentation, which I will make available on YouTube, so you can rewind at your leisure. But there is a plethora of softwares to learn with tutorials online, and it's really the best way. Most of us are self-taught, so we would have done exactly the same workflow. We want to learn something new, we go online, and then before you know it, you're starting to build up a library of go-to videos to help you problem solve your way through projects. So 1 second there. So I put together a presentation. So welcome to Autodesk 3ds Max. It's 15 minutes long, and it's going to take you through all of the basics. At the end of each section, you will be able to write some notes, but this is just a sample 15-minute lesson. And at the end, I'll pick up and summarize. And possibly open up 3ds Max, which is already primed, and take you through some extra little bits and pieces at the end in terms of a summary. So I'm just going to pop this over now to the presentation. Enjoy. Thank you very much. And there we have the learning objectives. So you can see from that first 1 minute video, these are already produced by Autodesk 3ds Max, and you'll find a lot of the softwares do come with their own training, and they enable you to work at your own pace, and obviously rewind and take notes, which you can do with this one as well. So that's a little sample there. We're going to carry on with the rest of them. There are 9 more, so enjoy. And obviously at this stage, you're familiar with different user interfaces, UIs. So and you'll be able to transfer a lot of the skills that you already have, possibly with IT, using maybe Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, maybe Photoshop, and maybe some 3D packages that you've actually used before. So it's just a matter of getting used to the different interfaces. And there's lots of cheat sheets, which are basically little keyboard shortcuts and little helpful tips. Often you can just download those, maybe put them onto, if you've got a dual screen, put them on the other screen, or print them off, have them in front of you, and they just help your workflow, you to pick up different areas. So okay, so we're going to look at navigate to view with the mouse. Okay, so we're using Autodesk 3ds Max, which is a 3D modeling package, but it's not just a 3D modeling package, as you'll start to realize as we move through these videos. There's also lighting and scene setup and texturing and animation. So it's got a plethora of different tools. And obviously, if you're working within the pipeline of a games development or a games design, maybe even of your own, um, there's obviously different jobs that you can do within that workflow or that pipeline. So we're just looking at 3D modeling at the moment. 3D modeling is creating 3D objects, or we call them props, to put into environments. So all the games that you possibly play, all, to make them realistic and to enable you to immerse into the game with familiar objects, then you look around your environment and you start to have some ideas about what it is that you would like to make for your game. Make a list of those items that are within a scene or a level, and then start building them. Okay, the next section is link and reference content. So namification of file extensions is obviously very important. We work with the MOD. They accept .fbx, but they prefer .obj because they use a different software package than us. So the file has to be read by other softwares. Um, so it's good to find out from the client what file extension they're actually looking for in terms of your output. Okay, next session, working with scale. So with scale, it's very important to think about the teamwork, the communication within a team, the collaboration. And one of the starting points is scale, to make sure the whole team are working to the same scale. And as suggested there, if that isn't done, then somebody who's putting the scene together has to resize all the objects from all of the different members of the team, which takes an awful lot of time and is not necessarily that accurate either. Okay, so moving on to the next one. This is locate and manage objects within a scene. Okay, moving on to the next one. It says move and select objects. So you can see already you're able to manipulate primitive shapes like a box, a sphere, a cylinder, and so on. And it's that manipulation and the time you spend and um, modify a basic shape, which gives you the outcome that you're looking for. It's the time that you spend on that, which gets that kind of that thing going, where you have something that you want to make and it starts to happen in front of you is amazing. It's a bit addictive. Okay, starting to modify geometry. So with expertise, there's pretty much nothing you can't make in 3ds Max that you can physically see in reality. It's just about the time that you put in and the distance between your starting point now and those people working in the industry is just the time you put in. These things do take time to get right, but if you pursue and you work hard, you will achieve what it is that you want to achieve at the end. Okay, we're looking at editing geometry. So the next session is looking at motion, and there's various motion tools that you can use within 3ds Max. You can also use external products like Mixamo, Autodesk, where you can download animations that are preset, um, import them as an FBX file into Autodesk, and then manipulate them within the actual Autodesk 3ds Max software as well. So as a starting point, if you don't know anything about rigging, and this just gives you the little basics as a starter, you can see how fully rigged characters look like by downloading them and having a look, and then maybe trying to recreate what you see. Okay, so next one is start working with motion. So textures can come from various sources. Obviously, the internet is full of materials and textures that you can use within your game environments and in the creation of game assets. Um, I would suggest um, doing your own research and get your camera on your phone or another camera and go out and actually take pictures. This is something that you probably haven't done before, but you'll find everything pretty interesting now in terms of the concrete on the floor, a broken drain, a brick wall, a broken wall, woodland leaves on a path. These can all be used, and there are Autodesk free products as well where you can take images and turn them into materials automatically, and then use those within your game environments as well and add them to your game objects. So I would suggest downloading some of those apps and give them a go. So applying and editing materials. And once you've got your textures in and you're happy with them, it's the lighting really that brings your objects to life. And you can produce some good artworks as well and get those posted onto professional websites like ArtStation and show off your work. So start rendering. And obviously, when you download the software, you'll be in the forum for having a look at all of the other resources that are available for download. Once you've using your college or school email, you can get a free copy of Autodesk products, plus lots of other stuff as well, like Mudbox for creating and manipulating in a very different way. Okay, so what you can see on the screen now is a little setup which I've created for tonight. So using those 1-minute videos that we've just watched, I just put this little scene together. I videoed it to start with, but I'll talk about it later. So just watch this. Okay, that ends really the presentation. So I'll just finish that off there. That's back to my art station. Okay. So let me just stop sharing for a second. Give me a second. Okay. I don't know if you can now see me. Hi there. Okay, so I'll just open up 3ds Max and give you a little spin around the actual scene that I've made for tonight. Okay, so 3ds Max. Okay, there we are. Okay, so there's the little scene that I've made for tonight. And just take this out of camera view. And you'll see that this has popped up here, and this enables us to now move around the scene. This little blue line here is the camera that I set up earlier. So for example, if I lost the scene, I could basically go to camera and get back to the scene. That's the final camera. Go to the other scene. Oops, excusez-moi. And back to there again. Likewise, if I lost the scene again, you could go back to the little house there, and that takes you back to something. Not necessarily where you wanted to be, but certainly where all the models are on the grid. The grid, if you hit G on the keyboard, you can see the grid. By hitting G on the keyboard, the grid appears and disappears. Turn it off for now. So that was my final little scene that I've made using 3ds Max. Keep hitting the wrong one. There we go. That's my final little scene, and all of these objects, separate objects put together, have been created using the primitive shapes. So you can see the detail that you can go into. And you can see this is made up of lots of different edges, edge faces. I can turn off edge faces. I can turn off it's in clay mode at the moment. I can turn that off, put default shading on. And you can see it's not looking too great at the moment. No lighting, nothing really happening in the scene at all. So yeah, as I explained, when you first put a sphere onto a plane, it may come in, this one's come in at 32 segments. Just use the modifier. You can see it's 32. That's not too smooth, so you might decide that for your particular scene, or from the client, they want it a little bit more detailed, so you can increase that. And I normally, like I said, go to about 64 to give it a nice smooth edge. The less edges completely changes the shape, and obviously you may want a shape like that even. So you've got a number of different options there. You can see these are all the primitive shapes, cylinders. Yeah. You might decide that you want these kind of splines in, or you want to increase the number of splines, decrease. And then if you wanted to edit those, like an edge, you can double click to go all the way around, single click to just activate one all the way around, or select the whole lot by double clicking, select one by single clicking, and if you hold the shift down, you can go all the way around the object. And then R, you can increase the object or decrease, and then you can use these ones. Or you might decide to do something like that. Control Z if you get it wrong. Loads of options there, and this is manipulating and modifying the actual object itself. And to give a nice little shine around the edge of an object, nothing's as perfectly cut as that. You might want to chamfer, and you can see that some of these terms are used in woodwork and metalwork. Autodesk also make Autodesk Cad, which is more of the engineering. 3ds Max gives you more of an artistic approach. So a lot of this is done by eye, as you can see. So that's the primitive shapes, basically. Primitive geometric shapes, and there's lots of them. You've got the standard ones and extended ones, and all the way down you've got lots of different things there: doors, walls, foliage. So put a tree in if you want. Lots of delete that. Walls, railings, lots of different things that you can add in, and obviously they come in and you can obviously edit them and modify them as well. They might not all be the shapes that you're looking for initially. Okay, so that's pretty much 3ds Max at this first lesson. So thank you very much for that. I'll just finish this off. So once you've created your scene and you're happy with your results, let's just quickly have a look at where you can see what the industry are doing. And these professional websites are really good because people are always headhunting from games companies or graphics design or film and TV, advertising. They'll come onto these sites and they'll be looking for artists. And it's also a place to learn. It's got a marketplace where you've got lots of things that you can buy. There's also magazines and books, podcasts, different guides, blogs, loads of jobs and things that come up in the industry, so you can keep an eye out on the jobs. But this is what we'll get you to do quite early on, is set up an ArtStation account so you can have your own models displayed, and also the development processes using Wix. We do blogs, so not so much writing, but more typing. So you'll produce blogs of all your work and the development process. And these are some of the, this was an ArtStation challenge. You can see there's challenges here. This one was called Odyssey. And then over the summer, I made a little video. I'll just walk you through this. You've got lots of objects. So a lot of research goes into this. So a load of photographic references, lots of little drawings, loads of prototype models, collecting loads of sample textures, and then using the softwares. Once you've got an idea of the level design, which is a quick top-down view of how everything's going to be positioned, you can then start putting in your objects. So 3ds Max to make the models, Substance Painter to paint the models, Unreal Engine to create the cinematics and put all the lighting in and to get some really good visuals. These statues here were 3D scanned from the local garden centre and then painted using Substance. And everything in this scene has been made in 3ds Max and Substance Painter to paint all the objects. So you can see very early on, you start to learn the whole production process. So, and also all the different jobs that are involved in games as well. So, you know, some drawing skills, problem solving, team meetings, getting some support from your colleagues, getting feedback, reviewing what it is that you've done, putting those objects into a real life setting or a fantasy setting, futuristic setting, whichever genre you're going for. And it's a continual process. So if you have any questions, please post those using the facilities on this particular meeting. And I look forward to answering those. Thank you very much.